The Washington County meeting of the Washington County Quorum Court County Services Committee will come to order. County Services can we do the prayer and pledge?
Heavenly Father, I'd like to thank you for bringing us together here tonight, all safely and sound. And I hope that you give us the wisdom to make the right decisions for the people of our community. We're at a rapid growth, and I know change is hard for a lot of people. I hope you can help them with that. And I pray that we get through, and I believe we all will, and give us a safe journey home this evening. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any changes to be made to the agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Thank you. Agenda item number 4 is the Juvenile Detention Monthly Statistics Report. Director Tinsley, good to have you.
Good evening. In the month of June, we had 24 intakes, with the average length of stay being 6.75 days. The average daily population for June was 12.87. The highest number of intakes were battery in the 3rd degree misdemeanor at 3. Of the 24 intakes from Washington, Madison County, 15 were from Division 3 and 9 were from Division 8. There were 4 total transports, with 3 were done by law enforcement or Washington County Sheriff's Office, and 1 was performed by JDC. Are there any questions that I may address at this time?
Did you have your mic on? Okay. Yes. Okay.
Well, thank you for what you do, really, seriously. I'm kind of curious about something. Do you keep records on the juveniles to follow up to see if they end up in jail later? Or is there any statistics on that? Does the program that we have help keep them from coming back?
We usually try to run those reports at the end of the year to check the recidivism rate, but I can definitely give you some statistics at the end of this year about our recidivism rate for the Juvenile Detention Center in Washington County. Yes, sir.
What do you notice about it? Just not statistics, but just what do you see?
My opinion, we don't have a lot of frequent flyers. We have a lot of kids that come in once and then we don't see them anymore. We have a small percentage that we call our frequent flyers that just keep coming back and back, and we just want to make we try so hard with Division 3 and 8, to look at alternatives instead of keeping them in jail for long periods of time. So we offer a lot of divergent programs, and things like the outdoor adventure crew and the 885 program, where these kids will go out and go fishing or go canoeing, hiking, things like that. Now, some of them, they don't want to participate, and sometimes their probation is revoked. But a lot of times these young men and young ladies like the programs, and with that, when that happens, you know, we don't see them again. So it's been working well.
Good.
Yes,
Good.
sir.
Well, thank you for that.
Anyone else? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Director Tinsley, one of the newer programs I heard about is this Kids and Cameras. Is that something that you've started picking up? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, sir. So a friend of mine from college, his name is Brandon Watts. He's a photographer, well known around Northwest Arkansas. He came to me with this idea about the kids and cameras. And so at first, you know, we met a couple of times, and then he wanted to give back to the community. I said, hey, you know, we have kids in here in the summertime. It's a little hot to be going outside playing basketball. Would you mind coming and teaching them just the basics of photography? Awesome. And so we were able to collaborate with Mr. Watts and offer him, you know, some equipment to use with the kids that is kept at JDC. We also asked Mr. Watts, once these kids get out of JDC, can they come by his studio and keep learning kind of how to work the camera? Because we just don't want it to be a one and done thing. We want them to keep on continuing to look into doing a photography program.
That sounds like an awesome program. Is that a for-profit collaboration or is it a nonprofit?
It's a nonprofit. He's strictly volunteering.
Okay. So it cost the county nothing.
Yes, $0.
Fantastic.
And so we do have a GIA grant and aid that we will use a little bit of that money that we have in the allocated funding to help Mr. Watts with any kind of equipment that he may need or that he may want to purchase under a certain dollar amount.
Awesome. Thank you for being proactive, looking for organizations and programs like that. That sounds awesome.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Simmons.
Any further question? If not, thank you.
Thank you all.
Agenda item number 5, the Sheriff's Office Enforcement Activity Report from Sheriff Jay Cantrell. It's good to have you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jay Cantrell, with the Washington County Sheriff's Office. You've got 5.1 in front of you. Our jail numbers are still high. We still are way overcrowded. The ADC, Department of Corrections, I call them ADC, but the Department of Corrections in the last 2 weeks apparently saw some of the newspaper stories up here or something, or the news articles. They took 35 in the last 2 weeks, so we're grateful for that attention they've given us. We'd like to take another 35 this week, but that's the nature with ADC is they roll those around to the 75 different counties, and so we just kind of wait till our number comes back up. But you can see our average daily high count was 787 for the period June 16th through July 15th. However, today that high count number is 799. So we always see an increase toward the end of summer as school gets ready to take back up at the university and around the area. For whatever reason, we'll see an increase in our count. So don't be surprised if we get up to 820 or 830 in the next month or two. But as you can see, that's kind of where we're at. Always the big thing is at the jail. Our enforcement folks are holding kind of steady with their calls for service. Nothing out of the ordinary over there. Our employment numbers are still short in the jail. We're still about 35 employees short in the jail and 7 short on the enforcement side. So be happy to answer any questions that anybody might have about any topic down at the Sheriff's Office.
Yes, Robert.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Sheriff, appreciate all that you do down there.
Thank you, Jake.
Wanted to ask a question. Went and saw the movie The Sound of Freedom, and of course there's a lot of information about that, and there's so many facts that they show you at the end of the movie. I'm just curious, what is the sheriff's department doing to help prevent child sexual?
Well, there's a task force in Northwest Arkansas that is dedicated to that particular endeavor. And so we've got deputies, one deputy assigned full-time to that task force. Other deputies assist as needed. So we just recently helped with a major undertaking that the federal government did, the Homeland Security investigations. Brought about 50 people up here about 3 weeks ago, had a big operation, made several arrests. And those arrests were people that actually came to a location in the hopes of meeting an underage person. So those are people that were taken off the street that actually drove up to a location. So we think those are serious offenders that will take that level. So yeah, we take it very seriously and are always willing to help all of our small towns, any other agency that has some situation like that that needs assistance. We're there to assist them as well.
Well, thank you for that, and anything you can do, just.
Yeah, it's
I'm
important
all
to
for
us,
it. I'm all
very
for
important to us.
It is for a lot of people. Mr. Chair, since I'm talking, could I go ahead and ask one more?
Yes.
So this one comes from a lot of constituents lately, and there's no one I know that's gotten a ticket, but can you educate me on what's going on the enforcement on speeding from the local? My wife pulled out and just went a couple of miles, and she said there were 4 getting tickets from different agencies, Prairie Grove, State Police, and Farmington on one stretch of road. And, you know, she said within a mile.
Yeah,
And then I've been hearing a lot of things about a lot of people getting tickets.
Yeah, there's currently an initiative in place that's comes from the state level to try to get people to slow down, and so it's been advertised on social media a lot. We've put it on our social media page to try to reduce speed and reduce the number of serious and fatal accidents. The fatal accidents in Troop L, which is our 4-county region, state police have really increased in the last couple of months. So I think they're trying to really push to slow people down and get that message out as schools getting ready to take back up. And so,
In defense of them not being here to ask, I'll ask this: could you not give a few warning tickets instead of just all tickets?
well, the Washington County Sheriff's Office.
Getting kind of expensive out there.
Yeah, right, yeah. Yeah, the Washington County Sheriff's Office prides itself on issuing warnings when that will work. You know, the goal of a traffic encounter, enforcement encounter on a traffic stop is to try to make a better driver, try to correct that behavior, and most times a warning will do that. But that's our philosophy. I don't know about the other agencies. I can't speak for the Arkansas State Police or some of the other small towns, but that's our philosophy.
Very good. Well, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All the ones listening at home, slow down.
Anyone else?
Oh, I'm sorry,
okay.
I'm through. Thank you.
J.P. Koger.
Hello, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Sheriff, for that report. Since we have 799, how many does that mean will be sleeping on the floor likely tonight?
Well, that varies, but it'll be from 130 to 160, depending on the classification of the people. And we've got COVID currently in the jail. That makes for a more challenging operation to keep people separate and safe from that contagious virus. So, but you know, it'll be between 140 and 160 each day, depending on the classification of the people that are in there.
Okay, how many have COVID?
Well, currently there are, I brought that number with me. Currently there are 42 detainees with COVID.
Okay. One thing that I'm getting asked lots of questions as I go about the county about this status of the jail expansion. Could you give us any news on that?
Yes, you know, we received bids, and those bids were much more than we had anticipated, and we think a lot of that's just from a lack of competition, that we didn't have competitive bids. We only had one bidder in most cases for each of the packages. So we are working diligently with architect to come up with a solution to try to get better bids, to get more competitive bids. So I know Judge Deakins has been in contact with the architect. I've been in contact with the architect to try to find a way that we can draw that interest up here. So,
But last month you mentioned something about you reducing the size of your planned expansion. Is that still?
well, the bids came in at much higher than we anticipated, so the bids that we got, so we don't have enough money allocated to build the project the way the bids came in. So, you know, our two options, and the first option is to ask for more money, and I'm not keen on doing that. The second option is to reduce the scope of the project. So we've asked the architect what he can do to reduce the scope to get within the funds that we have available.
Okay, could you give us an update? I can't remember the names of the two people that you hired to do educational programs at the jail. I just wonder how that's coming along.
You want their names, or you want to update on the program?
Well, you can, either way, I mean.
Yeah, it's Pat and Tina
Okay.
are the people that are working on that. And so prior to COVID coming in last week, we had intended to start GED this month, and may still get to do it. You know, obviously space is the big issue at the Washington County Jail, finding a space that we can dedicate to do these services that are more than just a few minutes or 30 minutes or an hour. You know, these are multi-hour segments that they'll be doing, but we've got GED scheduled for this month, and 12-step programs coming in. We've got volunteers that have been vetted, and so but there again, just finding that space and finding a place to put these like-minded people that can come together and try to help themselves. But that's coming this month also. A project that we've been pushing around and talking about, and I think it's got some good traction, is to establish a veterans pod. Any given day, we've got 35 or so veterans at the sheriff's office, and we think that we can probably identify, 28 or 30 of them that are wanting to get into some type of treatment realm, and we're going to try to establish just a pod just for our veterans. And we saw this up in Omaha, and it seemed to be pretty successful. And the VA is willing to come down and help where they can with bringing some programs in. Nick up at Returning Homes willing to send some of his people down to put on some of his programs. So we think that's got the potential to not only help that segment of our population that are veterans, but also to make life a little easier for our detention deputies who are working shorthanded, who are working in overcrowded conditions, to find this group of people. And they kind of self-regulate once you get them in there and they start the program. They're pretty good at taking care of their own problems and issues and don't require a lot from the detention deputies, or at least that's what we've seen in the other places that have tried it. So we're excited for that. It may take a couple months since we're dealing with some of our federal partners, to get that in place with the VA, but we're excited for that. So those are some of the things we've got coming, and those are going to be at minimal cost. There won't be much cost involved with those things to implement them.
Well, that sounds like a great idea, having the veterans be together to support one another. Another thing I'm wondering about is, what about the status of the diversionary case manager? Since, Drew Smith is no longer here, is there anyone doing that at the jail?
We never did have a diversionary case manager at the jail. Drew worked, I think, for the county judge.
But she had a kiosk at the jail, I thought.
Well, she had items on the kiosk that detainees could fill out and then would email to her at wherever her base of operation was. But she didn't have a kiosk for her, just a questionnaire that was on the kiosk that detainees could fill out if they chose.
Are they still filling that out?
Yeah, the questionnaire is still there, but I'm not sure who's receiving those emails right now.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Any further questions for Sheriff Cantrell? If not, thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Coming. Item number 6, A resolution supporting the publication of all ordinances, resolutions, and contracts on the Washington County website. Do we have anyone ready to discuss this? Or? Yes, sir.
Yes, I will.
Yes.
Thanks, Chair. So, we had a lot of discussion on this a month or so ago. What I wanted to do is make sure that the county clerk understood that the quorum court supported her in moving forward with this. And we are in budget season, and if she does need additional budget to be able to publish, and this is just ordinances and resolutions, took contracts out at the advice of council due to some contracts have proprietary information for on the contract side, and needing to make sure we protect that for those that we do contracts with. So for ordinance and resolutions, basically encouraging the county clerk to move forward with that, be able to publish them in a searchable format, and that we would, if she does need additional funding, to bring that to us in the 2024 budget timeframe, and I think everybody on the court here would be willing to support that. I did talk to the county clerk today to get a status on estimates and that type of thing. Right now, it looks like was 2 county clerks, her and one others, that was looking for this from the provider. So he's split the difference for the cost of creating the actual software to do this, and split it between the 2 county clerks. And our county clerk says, yes, I'm willing to do that. She believes the other one will as well. We're waiting on that. And then there will be a hosting fee in addition to that, a recurring hosting fee that'd be required to host those. So it's really all I'm trying to do is make sure she understands we support her in moving forward with this as she decides how to fulfill her duties as the county clerk and being able to publish that in a truly searchable format. I make a motion that we pass this on.
We have a motion and a second to pass this on to the full quorum court. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Yes, ma'am.
You have to push my button. Okay, thank you. This is a question for the county attorney, first of all. I don't understand how contracts can be proprietary information. I mean, contracts, one of the most important things we do here is spend taxpayer dollars, and contracts are public records. You could FOIA them. So could you help me understand that, please, Mr. Lester?
So under the FOIA law, you're allowed to, the FOIA law states that you can remove any information that may give an unfair advantage to a competitive bidder.
Right.
And so while that's probably doesn't happen very often, there's always that possibility. And so just publishing contracts could run afoul of that. And so that's why we prefer to try to give contracts out on a case-by-case basis so we can review that and remove any information that would run afoul of violating that rule.
But aren't all contracts filed in the county clerk's office?
They are, yep. But under FOIA, we have the ability to redact information before we give that stuff out, before we give that information out.
Well,
all domestic relations and adoption cases are filed in the circuit clerk's office. We redact information off those because there's certain information you can't give out. So just because it's filed there doesn't mean that there aren't redacted procedures that occur on all filings that go on.
Correct. But why can't contracts be published then and with redacted information?
Because then you've got to have somebody that's going to go through and redact the information before it's published. In the county clerk's office, that's not really what they do.
Okay, but you just said all contracts are filed in the county clerk's office.
That's correct.
Okay, so are contract not redacted when they're filed in the county clerk's office then?
Most things aren't redacted when they're filed.
They're not, okay.
Right.
So
They're
anyone can
redacted before that information is given out.
Okay.
Or published somewhere.
Okay, but so if anybody went to the county clerk's office, they could see the contract and it would not be redacted. So how's that different than?
No, it would be redacted.
It would
If there was something that needed to be redacted, it could be redacted.
And who does that?
Well, I guess that would be probably my office if asked to do so.
Okay. I just think it's important that contracts be included, and I would like to make a motion to amend this resolution, please, to include contracts.
We have a motion on the floor to amend this, to add contracts. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Ms. Washington. Any discussion on the amendment? If no discussion on the amendment, all in favor?
I'd like a roll call vote, please.
All right.
Coleman Taylor. David Wilson. Sean Simons. Kyle Lyons. Lisa Ecke. Charles Dean. Chandra Washington.
Yes.
Beth Koger.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
No.
Evelyn Rios Stafford.
Yes.
Willie Lemming.
Yes.
Gary Ricker.
No,
Butch Pond.
Is my vote necessary on this? I'll vote no.
I think it passed.
Okay, the motion to amend has failed. We're back to the original.
Point of order. I don't understand how it failed. Could we count, I mean, I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then yes, is that correct? Okay, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 no's. So it's a tie, no?
Right, and it doesn't have a majority vote. But a motion takes a majority vote of those voting.
Okay, well, okay, help me out with this then. I looked it up this afternoon and I thought it said that a motion to amend only did not require a majority.
Well, then there would be no point in voting. A motion to pass, any motion
Okay, I'm sorry,
requires a
but
majority
it tied.
vote.
That, okay, I'm sorry. I
Right,
didn't
and a
I didn't word that
majority
one.
is half, is anything over half. And since there were 6 to 6, that's not a majority.
Okay.
I mean, I can pull the rule if you want me to.
No, that's okay for now. Thank you.
Moving right along here. We're back to the original resolution supporting the publication of all county ordinances and resolutions on the Washington County website. Is there any further discussion on that ordinance, on that resolution? Excuse me. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Washington.
You have to push the button, I think.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I have just a question about this resolution. So as stated in Article 2, the Quorum Court encourages the Washington County Clerk to include a funding request in the budget. So my concern is what happens as we start evaluating these budgets and maybe the decision is not made to approve that request, then what does that do, or how will that affect the citizens of Washington County still being able to have access to the ordinances and resolutions online? That's a concern that I have. Or what happens if during the next election cycle, our current the current person is not in office anymore, like what happens then? And I think that's been something that we've just talked about a lot here. And my concern is that I believe the original intent of the original ordinance that J.P. Coger introduced, and also this resolution, is that it is our desire to make sure that this information is readily available for the citizens of Washington County. So what happens if there's a different person in office? What happens if the funding request is not approved? Will that affect the ability of the citizens of Washington County to be able to have these ordinances and resolutions readily available online?
Any further?
No, that's all.
Thank you.
Just that question.
J.P. Simons?
Thank you, Chair. Just a point of clarification. So on the agenda, the title's a resolution supporting the publication of all ordinances, resolutions, and contracts on the Washington County website. That's not what's in our packet. So before we vote, I want to make sure that that amendment to add contracts failed. So we're not voting off of this per se, because this is incorrect. Thank you.
Are you saying your copy of the agenda has "and contracts"
Correct.
on it? All of yours, it's on there?
But the resolution does not. That's what I wanted clarification on.
And contracts.
Because I believe the title that was read includes it.
The reason for that is the resolution was written like J.P. Lyons stated, and then he requested a change. So the change didn't get changed over from the agenda when Ms. Sabrina took was making the agenda, but the ordinance got changed at his request prior to it being sent out. So the actual document that you have, which is the resolution, item 6.1, is the correct version requested by J.P. Lyons.
Any further discussion on the resolution? Does this one require a public comment? We have a mic on. Ms. Coger?
Hello, thank you, Chair. Yes, I appreciate Justice Lyons bringing this matter up again, but I strongly believe it should be an ordinance and not a resolution, but this is better than nothing for the time being. But I did talk to Ms. Lou Allen, and she is including in her budget 2 published contracts. I just want to make sure everyone understood that. And I hope in the future that we can bring back an ordinance that will require publication of ordinance contracts and resolutions.
If there's no further discussion or comment by the court, is there anyone in the public who would like to make a comment on this resolution? And seeing none, all in favor of passing this resolution?
Mr. Chair, I request a roll call vote.
And a roll call vote is requested.
Coleman Taylor. Yes. David Wilson. No. Sean Simons. Yes, Kyle Lyons. Yes, Charles Dean.
Yes, ma'am.
Chandra Washington.
Abstain.
Beth Koger.
Abstain.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Evelyn Rios Stafford. Willie Lemming. Yes. Gary Ricker.
Yes, ma'am.
Butch Pond.
Yes. This, by a majority vote, this resolution will pass on to the full quorum court. Agenda item number 7, an ordinance authorizing the transfer of one vehicle to Madison County, Arkansas. Item 23-0-113, 7.1. Good to see you. There we are.
Good deal. Not that I think anybody has a problem hearing me anyway. We're well known, basically, just kind of give you a background. I help everybody in the state. Well, I'm usually helping counties almost every day, and plus the tri-state area. Our office is just really out there. As an association, the larger counties have gotten together, and what we're trying to do is help our smaller counties, you know, that just don't have it. Coroner's offices have changed so much. And with the new laws going in effect, which you're gonna see on my budget, because you know I don't up my budget. We have a lot of things going on that starts tomorrow. Anyway, I've been talking to Judge Garrett in Madison County. As you know, when you try to sell a vehicle, that you have to disclose what the vehicle was used for. So a lot of people are going to lowball a vehicle that's had death in it. It's just a fact of nature. And a lot of these counties cannot afford vehicles or things for their coroner's offices. And we were trying to get them up to date. We've already got Stewart down in Hot Springs has already donated one to one of his local counties. And I've been talking to Doug over in Madison County. And on top of that, it will help separate funeral home from coroner's office. It'll give them a vehicle that's marked coroner only and be able to do their job with it instead of having to keep using POVs, et cetera. They just don't have the tax base to do it. And as you all state all the time, the precedents that Washington County sets and standards for all the other counties to follow, I really think it would be a great idea for us to help our brothers. And Madison County is in need of a vehicle, and this is the one that was giving us some issues, but we've fixed a lot of the issues, and they're going to be able to run with it. They've accepted it through their quorum court, which, you know, as far as gas and et cetera and doing all that. But, it's just something I'd really like to do, and I think it would be good for our county to do that. It's just like whenever you see our first responders that go out and help Hinesville or Drakes Creek, you know, it's the same thing, but in another way, as in death. And we're just trying to help bring them up to standards. Our standards in the coroner's offices, unless you are one of the 5, 6, 7, you know, they're still down there a ways, and we need to get them up to where they can help their police. They can get the education they need, and they'll have the vehicles to do so. And we're hoping this one act of kindness will help other counties do the same. And I'd really appreciate it, but that's going to be up to you all.
Thank you, Roger. I'm going to take a little privilege of making a comment on this. Now, I understand what you're doing there, and I appreciate it, and I agree with you. We have all these mutual assistance agreements with neighboring counties, and we need to continue to set the example of what we do in these mutual agreements. Our first responders do it, our fire departments, and in a way, we're following their leadership by doing this.
Yes, sir.
And I can't begin to say how much this is necessary. We share so many things with these, in Madison County, for instance. People are not aware of how many on the east edge of Washington County receive their rural water from Madison County water. That's just one example.
Yes.
And I sure thank you for bringing this. Do we have any, I see JP Rickers pointing to JP Dennis. He must have been first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I'm a little bit harder nosed on this than some. I think we should get $2 instead of $1, but I'll forego that, and so I move that we adopt 7.1, move it to the full quorum court for a due pass recommendation.
Okay, and we're still in discussion, but we have a motion and a second. And then we got all kind of lights on. Is JP Ricker next in line?
I think so, probably.
Okay.
Is this one of the vehicles that you're phasing out already?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I need.
And then I believe it's JP Lemming.
Thank you, Chair. Is there any way in the stipulations that you could put that we get the remainder of the car back later on? Because this is taxpayers' money. Giving taxpayers money away, and we was talking about first responders, that comes out of our back pockets.
I understand that, but how many people in Madison County you think come over here and get their groceries?
Well, I don't want, we can argue all
And
day,
then
but
number
I
two-
think it's a good idea to put a car over there. I don't have a problem with that. I'll vote for it.
We thought about it at first and we discussed it, the judge and I, but you look at their roads. You want back a car after they've ridden it for another 100,000 miles, if they can get that out of it from Madison County, we can bring her back.
We donated a fire truck to one right here in Washington County, and we got it back whenever they was done with it. You know, we got roads in Washington County just as bad as Madison County.
Your choice. That's
That
all
is
I'm
my
saying.
choice.
It's your choice.
Thank you.
JP Simons?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Coroner, for bringing this up. I love the idea of mutual aid and mutual response and helping other counties out, but again, from a fiduciary standpoint, I go straight to the bottom line in dollars and cents. Is there any other equity transfer that we can get out of this other than goodwill? Is there other supplies that
I'm saying
counties can provide?
no.
Okay, so this is just
Yes.
dispersing of a county asset to another county
Yes,
and
sir.
not getting anything other than.
Yes, sir. But we can get the vehicle back. We can write that in there. I don't care. But I think it's just gonna be in the back of Jake's parking lot.
Okay. Would you be open to amending this ordinance to
Yes.
include that?
Yes.
That being said, would we need to, what's the procedure of making that on-the-fly amendment? Okay. I make a motion that we amend the ordinance to include a clawback clause.
Okay, do you wanna put in there like in 5 years, we want the car back?
5 years sounds fantastic.
Did we have a second on that?
Open to discussion.
Yes, ma'am. JP Washington.
Thank you.
We can't have discussion unless there's a second on it.
Did we ever get a second?
Who
Our
seconded?
parliamentarian said we had to have a second in order to discuss. Do we have a second? We for, your J.P. Lemming is seconding the motion. Okay, yes, ma'am, Ms. Washington.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So my question was just for Coroner Morris. What is the ideal situation for you? I mean, obviously, I don't know anything about the depreciation of vehicles other than those that I use for my own personal use. But so you're saying that this is a common practice or something that the larger counties, I understand you to say, are trying to do to help out in the smaller counties. So if we get this truck back in 5 years, does that truck then become of any value to Washington County?
I'm sure that the road department could probably pull something off the engines and something like that, possibly. I'm not a car salesman, so I couldn't tell you really, but I do know that, it will depreciate. We don't know what's gonna happen. I mean, is it gonna get wrecked? There's a lot of issues involved there, but you can always salvage a lot of things. That's like whenever we wrecked that truck coming back from the crime lab. We were able to get the insurance money off of it, and plus they were able to get some parts off the engine for stuff for the road department vehicles. So yes, I would say there's probably monetary value.
Okay. And in your conversations with the other coroners, do they have plans to ask for the vehicles
No.
back or just to give them outright?
Well, let me rephrase that. I did not ask that question.
Okay. So, ideal situation, which would you prefer? Because I definitely will defer to whatever your professional judgment is in this. So,
I would say my idea would be to just donate it, because that will give them the opportunity to run it. Because if we do a deal where I apologize because I was a little smart. The deal with a time limit, it could. Yes. That's why I was thinking. That's why whenever the judge and I were talking about it, we were thinking about doing like a $1 lease or something, But it's like I told him. I said that means we still own it, and if we own it, if there's an issue, we're gonna be in trouble with it.
Okay, now, you guys, who's next in line? Who's on first? Okay.
I think it's me. What's the mileage on that rig?
Almost 80.
80,000? When you get rid of yours, do you sell them at bid?
We usually been trading them in.
Trade them in?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
when we were selling police cars, when I was police chief, we'd sell our old police cars. We got $500 out of them. We were lucky if they were a 10-year-old rig. So what do you think the county would get out of it for trade-in?
I do not know. I know that we'll find out, because these next ones I'm gonna put through the auction.
Okay.
So we'll know more then.
So it's 80,000 miles, almost 10 years old.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, we put it on stipulation, they can't sell it, they can't move it, and it's strictly for coroner's office.
I have no interest in return of it, because if they use it and run it for another 5 years, I don't think you're gonna be worth much of anything. I don't think it's worth a whole lot now.
J.P. Coger.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we should defer to Coroner Morris's expertise in this matter, but I'm not sure. Are we debating now the amendment? Is that what we're talking about? Okay, but, okay. Thank you very much, that's all.
And I've held you up too long, you just changed your mind. Okay, all right. I'll add a little bit before, seeing as how I'll be asked to vote on this too as well. And just remind myself and anyone listening in, this is a 2012 model vehicle, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And it'll be
11 years old.
11 years old. And in 5 years, it would be 16 years old. And a lot of maybe the kind of miles somebody's not gonna really wanna pay you very much for it. It'll be taken for salvage or kept for salvage. If we're looking, we have maybe some people on here looking for something from the taxpayers of Madison County. And I might be mistaken, but Madison County holds the majority of the green acres, the rural acres of the watershed of Beaver Lake, where we get all our drinking water. So what I think about that every time some of this stuff comes up. What do they provide to us? Because of them being a rural county with more green acres than we do and a larger chunk of the watershed, that's helping us to have not spend so much money getting our drinking water purified. I'm just bringing that up because I get a little touchy about us picking on our brother to the east and what they provide to us. And we do have something here to vote on, an amendment. I see we do have another comment.
Thank you, Chair. $7,495. If anybody'd like to give more than that. You asked what it was worth. Looked it up.
J.P. Lyons. J.P. Lemming.
My turn.
Is it?
I just want to speak again, and I want to make myself clear. I don't give a darn about the money. I want the car back so I can sell it for $500, tell the taxpayers I didn't give their money away. That's what you're here, is giving money away. You don't give taxpayers money away. Let them use the car. Let them wear it out. Let them roll it over. Let them run it off in the creek. Suck it out, take it to the junkyard, get $500 for it. I don't care. That's all I'm saying. Don't give taxpayers money away. I'm tired of paying taxes. I don't want you to take it and give it away if it's $2, $10, or $10 million. Thank you.
Any further question? This one here, we do.
No public comment. We're on the motion to amend.
We're on the motion to amend, which doesn't require public comment. And I think we're wanting a roll call vote on this. Is that correct? Beating you to the draw.
No, Mr. Chair, I'm fine with
A voice vote, my goodness. All in favor of adding this amendment to the original ordinance, say aye. All opposed?
No.
No. Call for a roll call.
Coleman Taylor? No. David Wilson? No. Sean Simons? Kyle Lyons? Charles Dean? Yes, Chandra Washington?
No.
Beth Koger?
No.
Robert Dennis?
No.
Evelyn Rios Stafford?
No.
Willie Lemming?
Yes.
Gary Ricker?
No, ma'am.
Butch Pond?
No, ma'am. The motion to amend fails. Now we're back to the original ordinance. And we have open for discussion.
Thank you, Chair. We're talking about the original motion here, right?
Yes, sir.
I would just echo what J.P. Lemming said, is that, this is just giving away money. So however you want to guise it, it's what it is. So let them buy their own vehicle would be my thought from just a fiscal standpoint. Second, why can't Benton County donate one to them? They border Madison County too, right? Like to some degree. Franklin County on one side, Carroll County. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, you see what I'm saying. I'm not beating you up over this. I'm just saying the precedent that it sets.
They're not me.
What's
I'm
that?
trying to set a precedence. I'm trying to help motivate other counties to
You
do
said
so.
that. Yeah, that's the
Yes.
point of what you're wanting to do. So my thought is let them get it themselves and let's set that precedent. So that's those people don't vote for anybody in this room. They don't pay a dime of tax for anything we do or for that vehicle. So if they want to raise some money to get one, let them raise some money to get one, but don't ask me for it.
Okay, so when something major happens over here, I'm gonna tell Madison County not to come because they don't pay no taxes over here. Sounds good to me.
Any further? I might ask you to be a little more subtle and polite if there's any further discussion. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really do understand the concerns about the money, but one of the things that I wish that a lot of our colleagues knew was that when we were in the height of the pandemic, a lot of people helped Washington County. And Coroner Morris can tell you how we did not have adequate freezers. He needed a lot of help. And nobody said, you're Northwest Arkansas, you're Washington County, we're not gonna help you. People from all across the state, neighboring states, and all of that stepped in to do that. So I think that we have to be really careful when we say, yeah, should they buy their own? Probably, but we're in a position to be able to help them, and we have received help, and we never know when it may be our turn again. So I understand your concerns about that. In the grand scheme of things, we should be willing to be good neighbors and to help people when we can. And I just wanted to point that out, that a lot of people have helped Washington County that a lot of us may not be aware of, but we received a lot of benevolence and a lot of help during the COVID pandemic.
I believe J.P. Simons is.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is a small, discrete difference, but it makes the whole difference for me. I'm all for helping other counties. Mutual aid is hugely important, especially for our EMTs and first responders and the coroner's office. But if my neighbor needs to borrow my vehicle, they're more than welcome to, but I'm not gonna buy a vehicle for them. So again, it goes back to J.P. Lemmings, giving away taxpayer county assets, to me, doesn't feel right. I'm all for making this vehicle available to Madison County or any other county for that matter that needs help when they need it. But to give it to them, transfer that asset off of our books into somebody else's books, doesn't seem like good stewardship of county assets.
Any further discussion? And we're on the original motion now. Any public comment? Do we have a show of we do have a show of a hand of a public comment.
I just wonder if some JPs may not be aware that we do have a special relationship with Madison County, and I'm sure we have many, but the one that's coming to my mind right now is that, we're in the same court district, and, we are linked in that way. So, I think that there might be reasons that we could consider this a closer relationship than maybe other counties might.
Thank you. Any further? No further comment? Let's just go ahead and do a roll call vote on this one. All in favor?
Coleman Taylor. David Wilson. Sean Simons. Kyle Lyons. Charles Dean. Chandra Washington.
Yes.
Beth Koger. Robert Dennis. Evelyn Rios Stafford. Willie Lemming. Gary Ricker. Butch Pond.
Yes, ma'am. This passes to the full quorum court. Thank you for coming in, Roger.
Yeah, thank you all. I'm sorry if I was abrupt to anybody. I really am. I'm just very emotional about this stuff. Thank you.
I'm just like you. Agenda item number 8, an ordinance amending section 5 of the benefits and approved leave section of ordinance 2018-50, the Washington County Employee Handbook. Yes, ma'am. Tell us your name, please.
Hello, good evening. I'm Patty Burchett, HR Director.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the ordinance before you today is to amend our current catastrophic sick leave policy that's found in our employee handbook. The judge's office is going through the handbook slowly and trying to make good conscientious decisions about the best way in which to adjust our employee benefits and the policies that go along with them, as well as the procedural day-to-day to manage them. So you all recently passed the vacation revision, and so this was the next one on the list. There's some highlights. Our current policy has a 2-year accommodation or term for the employees to be able to receive time from the bank. So with the revised policy, that changes that to a 1-year term. That's to correlate it with the FMLA law, the federal law, which is the guidelines under the catastrophic sick leave policy require a catastrophic illness to qualify for time anyways. So from an HR standpoint, it makes a lot of sense to kind of have those two processes flow together when our employees are having to request time. There are some other details that have changed, such as currently right now our employees have to have a combined amount of vacation and sick time before they can donate and participate in the bank. And so this policy revision would lower that threshold to 20 hours. Whenever you have an employee that is suffering from a catastrophic illness, they typically will have, prior to applying for cat leave, they will have already used all of their sick and vacation time. So them trying to donate to be able to be eligible to get time, I mean, is pretty much impossible. So some of the rules and regs in our current policy, they're very challenging and daunting for an employee that finds themselves in that situation to have to maneuver within in order to get the assistance that they need in order to allow them to, hopefully recover from their catastrophic illness and not have to worry about how am I going to pay my bills, how am I going to pay my health insurance premiums, and things like that. And so the request on the table is to amend the policy to make it better for the employees as far as them being able to actually utilize the cat leave bank, and so that HR can help support them whenever they come to us and ask us for, well, what do I do? I don't have enough time to cover me. So that's basically what's on the table. Any questions?
Yes. JP Lyons.
Thank you, Chair. I agree. Looking at this, the changes are for the better for the staff. It reduces the time before you can actually participate, and it reduces the number of hours you have to maintain, giving the staff of the county more access to this type of benefit and capability. With that, I make a motion, we pass this on to the quorum court with a full. do recommendation.
We have a motion and a second to pass this on to full quorum court. Is there further discussion? JP Dennis?
Thank you, Chair. Probably a very good reason why, and I just don't know what it is. Why is all of it marked out?
Why is what?
A line drawn through everything.
Oh, are you referring to on the ordinance? I don't know. Attorney Lester, I'm not the one who drafted the ordinance.
Well, I wouldn't use the word redacting. I mean, I can read it, but it's got a line all the way through it, so.
The quorum court passed an ordinance several years ago, several years ago, that dealt with the manner in which you would amend ordinances. And your ordinance states the procedure is to put what is in, strike through what is being taken out, and underline what is being added. So this conforms to your previous ordinance.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
I didn't know that.
JP Koger?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm just curious, have the employees been given a chance to review this and provide feedback? County employees?
So this policy has gone through the same procedures as the vacation policy. It was on JSAP agenda for 2 months in a row. It was tabled the first month to give the electeds more time to review it. So upon that, through that process would be where the employees have been given the opportunity to view it, because that all agendas for JSAP are posted on the county website, so they would be able to have access to that.
Okay, but if employees had questions about it, have they had a chance to submit those questions and maybe get answers, and has anyone done that?
I have not had anybody approach me with questions in regards to this. I did have early on during the vacation policy process, I had a conversation with our collector's office. A lot of their employees, we had kind of a round table discussion, if that's what you want to call it. And this policy actually came up, and so we did discuss quite a few of the changes that we were going to be proposing. And so a lot of them gave feedback, and we did discuss that with them. And they seemed very responsive and happy about these changes, in particular because there was an employee who's no longer with us that passed away, and that particular employee struggled with trying to get time from this bank because of some of the rules that we have and the process that we have in place. I will tell you that we have a lot of law enforcement personnel who are on 12-hour shifts, because we can only do 20-day increments, and you have to come back every 20 days to committee to ask for time. That's a very challenging process because our pay periods are 14-day pay periods, but JSAP only meets once a month. So sometimes those employees don't have enough time sitting on the books for them to be able to actually get paid, even though they may have been approved previously, but now that they have to come back every 20 days and get time, that's a very unrealistic, I will say, procedure for them to have to go through. So pulling that out as well is another change that has been requested. And I'm not so sure that there would be an employee in the workforce that would have a problem with that. I just, if they do, they're more than welcome to come and talk to me, and I can explain this to them, but I have not had anybody approach me with questions.
Okay. There's just a lot here to cover. Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we table this until next month to give everybody time to go over it more in more detail, and maybe see if there are any employees that would like to, that have questions or anything.
We have a motion to table. Is there, don't believe we can have discussion on a motion to table.
It's a motion to postpone.
It's a motion to
Oh, postpone to next month, I'm sorry, okay.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion to postpone and a second. So, let's just go ahead and do a roll call on that.
Coleman Taylor. No. David Wilson. No. Sean Simons. No. Kyle Lyons. No, ma'am. Charles Dean. No, ma'am. Chandra Washington.
Yes.
Beth Koger.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
No.
Evelyn Rios Stafford.
Yes.
Willie Lemming. No. Gary Ricker.
No, ma'am.
Butch Pond.
No, ma'am. motion to postpone has failed, so we're back to the main motion. Is there any further discussion on the main motion? See none. Does this one require a public comment? We have anyone from the public that would like to comment? And I see no one from the public would like to comment. So, all in favor, say aye. We had a motion and a second to pass it on. You want, all opposed? You're. We got a couple of no's. Three no's. Let's just go ahead and do a roll call. You guys are killing me.
Coleman Taylor. David Wilson. Sean Simons. Kyle Lyons. Charles Dean.
Yes, ma'am.
Chandra Washington.
No.
Beth Koger.
No.
Robert Dennis. Evelyn Rios Stafford. Willie Lemming. Gary Ricker.
Yes, ma'am.
Butch Pond.
Yes, ma'am. The motion passes to the full quorum court. Agenda item number 9, a resolution supporting sustained funding for the Northwest Arkansas Crisis Stabilization Unit to provide mental health services. Do we have somebody that's bringing this to us? J.P. Koger? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, so we've heard about the information that's been out about that the state may not continue to fund the crisis stabilization unit. I don't know if many of you know, but the unit was closed for over a year. It reopened, I think, in about a year ago, actually, in August of 2022. And this crisis stabilization unit furnishes mental health services and behavioral health services care to people who are really who need it and have no place else to go in most cases. It helps keep people out of the jail. It helps people it provides them with medication if they need that, and with support services. No one is released from the CSU without prescription for their medication and connection to services that they might need, like for food or housing or medical care. And they also help people get insurance. They provide a great service for the community and for our citizens who are going through a mental health crisis. And the sheriff is here. I think he would speak as to the help that the CSU provides to his office. So I brought this forward. It's just a resolution. It's not binding, of course, but I think it's important that we let Governor Sanders and our legislature know that here in Washington County we care about people who are going through mental health crisis, and we'd like to help them. And we're just requesting that they continue the funding it. I do have one amendment to make, Mr. Chair, because on line 43, I was not able to get a number from the county. I did ask the county attorney and the county judge, and I wasn't able to get an amount. So I'd like to amend line 43 to say, to fund this vital mental health unit at least its current funding level in the fiscal year 2023 to 2024 budget. It's a resolution.
It's a resolution.
I'm sorry?
I'll do it properly.
J.P. Dennis.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm always okay with doing a resolution because resolution doesn't have any power. but you just added numbers to it. And so, well, my question was, you're adding funding to your resolution?
I'm just may I answer?
Let me make sure I've got this right. This, you might as well say this is a letter to the governor, to the state of Arkansas, asking them to continue the funding that they've been providing to begin with. It's not got anything to do with what we've contributed. And
Okay.
while I'm talking, I might add a little bit more. Y'all might not want me to be the chair anymore, but I'm gonna add a little bit to
I think
this
you're doing
one.
a good job.
I believe, and it's been a while since I read it, but I believe in Article 2, I believe it's in Article 2 of the Constitution of the State of Arkansas, that counties are held responsible for individuals in this kind of situation. It's in there somewhere anyway. I hadn't read it in a long time, but I remember that I solemnly swore to uphold the Constitution of the State of Arkansas. And some of y'all, others on here did, and some of y'all just solemnly affirmed, and some of you solemnly affirmed and swore. Or you swore first and then solemnly affirmed. But that's, I guess you kind of guessed where I'll be voting. But let's see, do we got, how's this going? J.P. Lemming?
If I heard that right, we're just sending this to the governor saying to keep sending us money. This ain't for Washington County funding this?
Now, it says, resolved by the Quorum Court, Washington County, for reasons noted above, that this resolution be sent to the Washington County Legislative Delegation. Oh, that's not the one, okay. Okay, now therefore we resolve that the Quorum Court of Washington County calls on Governor Sanders and the Arkansas General Assembly to make sustainable funding for the CSU a priority. No, it's not from the county.
Yes, J.P. Simons?
Thank you, Chair. If I'm not mistaken, first off, let me back up. I don't think anybody can argue the validity and the importance of the CSU and the vital impact it has in the community, but when it was down for a year, it's because we lost the care provider, not because Washington County or even the state pulled funding. So context is important. We didn't just pull that out, unless I'm mistaken. I'm pretty sure it was an issue with the care provider, not for funding.
Permission to speak. I know, but that feels kind of funny. I got to ask my parliamentarian. We've, I had permission. Oh, you're so sweet. Oh, I believe the way that went was because some funding was lost from the state, that we lost our care provider. If I've been keeping up with that property in the Democrat Gazette, online reading. Okay.
Point of order. Was there
yes.
an amendment that we needed to vote on, or we have the motion of that?
We're at the amendment.
We're just at the amendment, and an amendment doesn't have a number on it. It just says, keep giving us what you've been giving us, and we'll keep what we got, pretty much. Do we have any further discussion on this? Well, let's just go ahead and do a roll call vote so we can only do it one time. And this is on the amendment. To fill in the blank with, what was the words you wrote on?
At the current level.
At the current level.
Coleman Taylor? David Wilson? Sean Simons? Kyle Lyons? Charles Dean? Chandra Washington?
Yes.
Beth Koger?
Yes.
Robert Dennis. Evelyn Rios Stafford. Willie Lemming. Gary Ricker. Butch Pond.
Yes, ma'am. So the amendment, the motion to amend passes, and now, if you know, we'll have, I'll allow a little more discussion, yes. J.P. Coger.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just in reply to what was said, the reason that it was closed earlier, I mean, the state reduced the funding, and that's why we lost the provider that we had, because they could not continue to operate with the reduced funding. And so now I make a motion that we pass this on to the full quorum court with the due pass recommendation. Thank you.
Second. We have a motion and a second to pass this to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And of course, there is none. Thank you all for that. And we're to the item 10, which is public comment. We have a 12-minute comment period with a 3-minute limit for each individual to comment on items on this agenda, that were on the agenda for this evening. Do we have anyone wanting to comment on the items that were on this agenda? Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Gladys Tiffany Fayetteville, and I came to speak to the CSU issue, and I'm just so grateful that you are so supportive of that very important program, and thank you very much.
Thank you for coming by. Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Gracie Foreman. I'm from Fayetteville, Arkansas. I just want to reiterate that it's really nice to see support of the CSU. It's one of the few resources that we have here in Washington County that can be used as a diversion for people experiencing mental health issues from jail. And I think it's an essential and crucial part of Washington County. And it's nice to see that everybody here supports that as well. And then I also just wanted to talk really briefly on the jail population as it currently sits. So I did a preliminary data scrape from the Jail Data Initiative, and through that preliminary scrape, as of yesterday, I found that 94 people are in the jail with bonds between $5K and $10K, and then I also found that there are 99 people with bonds between $200 and $4,795. And I just wanted to bring that to y'all's attention. If you were to take a lowball cost at what, during the CJCC meeting last week, a number was thrown around at $80 for a cost per inmate per day. And so if you take that, just that 94 of those 5K to 10K people, that cost annually is a little under $2.7 million. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I know that's a preliminary data scrape I did, but I still think that number is pretty alarming, and that's something I would like my officials to be aware of. So thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else? I'm gonna make you go over there. I like you, but, you know.
You only get 3 minutes. It won't take long. I think that Willie Lemming, 18390 Dutch Mill South, Lincoln, Arkansas. The CSU is a good thing, but, and I really believe that the funding from the state of Arkansas, I really believe will disappear. I think they've started that like a 5-year program, and you got your 100%, and then it's reduced and reduced. I think within 5 years it'll be gone. And I really, really think that that issue needs to be put in front of the people of Washington County to vote on, because that's gonna be a very expensive thing to maintain, the money-wise. I think, just like the jail, you know, we had to put it in front of the people to vote on for a jail. I think it's gonna be important to put this CSU unit on the ballot to people to vote on for us to spend tax money on. And I think that's the most fairest thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, I might be entertaining a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, stand up.